Before famously changing his name to Muhammad Ali, this man, known as the Greatest, was initially called Cassius Clay Jr., a name he received from his father, Cassius Clay Sr., who got his name from this man, Cassius Marcellus Clay, perhaps the most violent abolitionist that history books simply won't touch, despite having turned from a wealthy Southern slaveholder to a radical abolitionist. He survived assassination attempts, was known to draw a Bowie knife without hesitation, and had more duels than we can count. His story is one of violence, politics, and drama, and the conclusion has the most paradoxical ending possible and includes his marriage to a 15-year-old. Let's go. Clay was born in 1810 in Madison County, Kentucky to Sally Lewis and Green Clay, one of the wealthiest politicians and slaveholders in the state. Since this is the early 19th century, understand that slavery was normal to Clay, and he and people around him rarely ever questioned it. Coming from immense wealth, young Clay was able to enjoy higher education opportunities, like attending private academies as a youth, and later on the prestigious Transylvania University in Kentucky at age 18 before ultimately hitting the transfer portal all the way up to Yale. This part's very important. See, while Clay was attending Yale, famous abolitionist and fiery orator William Lloyd Garrison gave a speech on campus condemning slavery. And though this was done in a slightly more progressive Connecticut, the message was still clear and very striking. Garrison was known to reject the notion of gradual emancipation and instead argued for immediate abolition, presenting slavery as a sin directly against God, and directly called out wealthy Southern slaveholders, exactly like Clay and his family. This personal conviction resonated with Clay deeply, and within a year he had joined the anti-slavery movement, a major risk at the time, even in Connecticut. So he graduates, he goes back down to Kentucky and gets to work, first becoming a lawyer, then a politician and anti-slavery Republican in particular, fighting slaveholding on both the legal and political front. Clay was so hyped up on the abolition from this Garrison speech that he even ran home and freed his own slaves, and then tried to encourage his family to do the same, although they weren't so keen on that idea, probably because they hadn't heard Garrison's speech. But Clay became well known and incredibly controversial for doing this, especially when he began giving speeches on the matter. I don't know if you knew this, but slavery was pretty big in Kentucky in the 1840s, with nearly 200,000 enslaved people doing menial labor, a third of the white population at the time. Much of the Southern American economy depended almost entirely on agriculture, and the addition of free labor for a one-time fee was a major supplement to labor, despite obvious religious and moral qualms even within the wealthiest slaveholding class. So Clay working against slavery was not only a big problem, but also very dangerous. So dangerous, in fact, that Clay made it well known while speaking that he was prepared to turn his adversaries into hashtags if they made the mistake of playing with him. He famously said in 1841, quote, "Indeed, if a Southern planter tried to touch me, I'd turn this tool sideways and rip him like some homework." Just kidding. But he did say, "If any man dares to strike me for speaking truth, he shall find that I am prepared to defend myself," which is basically the same thing. And let me be clear, he was not lying. For example, in 1840, Clay was in a debate with a guy named Robert Wycliffe, who would later become the governor of Louisiana. And Robert introduced Clay's lovely wife into the matter, and Clay wouldn't let that slide. So he challenged him to a date and time for a duel. And although both men missed their shots, it was proof that Clay was really about that action. So it was no shock that when Clay was ambushed in 1843 while giving a speech by assassin Sam Brown, our protagonist did him bad. The story goes that Sam drew down on our boy during his speech and pulled the trigger, but Clay, instantly noticing the would-be assassin, quickly drew his Bowie knife with such speed and precision that the silver-tipped sheath flew upwards, perfectly stopping the bullet before it could tear through Clay's flesh, ultimately saving his life. As his opponent was frozen in utter disbelief, Clay turned his Bowie knife against Sam, slicing up his face, surgically removing his nose, poking out an eye, and taking an ear with him for his troubles before adding it to his collection, then throwing the man over an embankment. The end result was so bad, we don't even have any pictures of Sam Brown, even from before Clay did him, a full Orwellian vaporization. If you're enjoying the video so far, click the like button, comment down below for the algorithm, anything at all, and subscribe to the channel. It won't sign you up for anything, you won't be charged or spammed with emails, all it does is help my channel grow. Thank you. Sam Brown's failed attempt on Clay was just the start of the violence for Clay, though this is not to suggest he was not ready for smoke at all times. Only a couple years after the 1843 attempt at his life, Clay had the stones to open up a newspaper office, not publishing opinion pieces on local sports or something, but instead anti-slavery statements in his True American paper. In less than a month, he had more death threats than regular buyers, and it got so bad that he barricaded the windows, put iron on the door frames, and I'm not joking, he put up cannons inside of the building. Apparently he also kept a hefty stash of gunpowder inside, just in case he had to blow the whole joint up if the building was ever breached. This sounds outlandish, but when 60 men of the pro-slavery variety stormed into the newspaper office, he blew up a part of it, just like he said, and fought off the assailants with his Bowie knife and rifles, along with some of his anti-slavery newspaper gang. Nobody died from this, but it cemented Clay as a readily dangerous abolitionist and made his name even more popular. Once we reach 1846, Clay would serve as a captain in the Mexican-American War in his mid-30s. Clay figured the acquisition of Mexican territory would end up in making new slave states, which he was right about, but he didn't like Mexico's attempt to seize Texas in particular. I get it. Plus, he wanted a break from all the attempts at his life. Which sounds like a good idea. You want to stop being shot at and stabbed, so you go to a place where you're likely to be shot at and or stabbed. Once back from the war though, the pro-slavery crowd was waiting for him. This time the challenger was Cyril Turner, a pro-slavery politician. I probably don't even have to say that they're pro-slavery politicians, but for the sake of specification, we'll say it. As this usually goes, Clay was giving yet another anti-slavery speech in Kentucky. You'd think he learned his lesson by now, and as soon as he was done, Turner and his gang, including his brothers, surrounded Clay, argued with him for a moment, then started attacking him with clubs and knives. One of them even stabbed him a few times. Despite his wounds though, Clay drew his, at this point, legendary Bowie knife and stabbed Turner to death.
Get him up, let him get up.
Once again, Clay did him so bad, we don't even have pictures of him. All that we have left of Turner are the pants that he was wearing the day that Clay got his hands on them. They're actually on display in a museum in Kentucky right now. How badly do you have to lose a fight to the point where only your pants remain once your opponent's done with you? And this was not a fair fight, by the way. They tried to jump him. Think about that. Either way, despite all of this, his most modernly controversial actions had yet to come. All of this pride, national service, and reputation as a dangerous, big-time Republican abolitionist set Clay up to exercise his political potential by running for vice president in 1860, and although he lost to this guy, Clay had befriended the 6'4" Top Hat man who saw that Clay's talents, both as a political ally and with the Bowie knife, could not go to waste. So once the Civil War kicked off, his influence played a major role in ensuring Kentucky did not side with the Confederacy. He even set up his own little militia to guard the White House, appropriately named the Clay Battalion. Beyond this, he was appointed by Abraham Lincoln to be the minister to Russia to make sure key powers like Russia and France never recognized the Confederacy as legitimate. It seems like past this point though, the heroism ends and the controversy begins. This part is basically the downfall of Clay. Firstly, Clay fell out of favor with even his own political party, most noteworthy due to his opposition of basic civil rights for Black Americans, like the right to vote. Secondly, he made matters worse for himself on his own volition entirely because of his 1894 marriage at age 84, not because his new bride was a lady of the night or anything, but because it was Dora Richardson, who was only 15. Times were different back then, but still, even then, this was major political scandal, and Clay's family tried to have him declared mentally insane to kind of shake it off a little bit, though he denied all claims of insanity. Lastly, he lived out the rest of his years in his Kentucky mansion, armed to the teeth with rifles, multiple pistols on his person, his trusty Bowie knife of course, and loaded cannons within his own home. Some way, somehow, despite all of the violence, controversy, threats, and attempts at his life, Cassius Marcellus Clay would outlive all of his rivals, dying in 1903 of quote general exhaustion at age 92, legendarily old for the time, and maybe the most misdirectional, paradoxical ending possible to the story, especially considering his character as a violent abolitionist. Though he's overshadowed by the huge figures of both his time and of our time, Clay's contributions to the America we have now through risking his life at literally every turn are worth highlighting. Let me know in the comments if you already knew about this guy, and tell me what you think. Does Clay deserve a little side section in American history books? Perhaps even a whole chapter? Thank you so very much for watching until the end of the video. That helps me more than you will ever know. That helps my channel grow so much. Like the video if you enjoyed what you saw, Drop a comment down below, I really do enjoy chatting with you all in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel, there's more content like this on the way. Thanks as always.